Apologies in advance, I'm a bit sick while recording this, so it might sound a bit weird.
One thing that has always intrigued me is Atari. Not because the company is actually interesting, but more in the way that you see a car accident.
Imagine you're Atari.
I'm so sorry.
You went from being the biggest name in gaming, back when video games were this, to being partially responsible for the video game crash of 1983, almost killing the entire video game industry, to struggling to stay relevant with a series of progressively worse consoles, to being bought out by a second-rate studio, Infogrames, purely for the name, and later filing for bankruptcy, only for them to be back in full swing with their comeback strategy of real money gambling, LGBT, and YouTube.
I don't know, it's kinda neat. It's interesting going back and seeing the very first of gaming, even if it's... I'm morbidly curious about the Atari Jaguar, a system with a terrible controller marketed as 64-bit while really only having two 32-bit processors, and effectively killed Atari. And just the state of Atari in the modern day, creating original games like QWOP, and QWOP 2, creating weird games like Pong Quest and Atari Mania, I'm not sure what they are.
Similar to games you've played. Danganronpa.
And an entire interactive museum with the 50th anniversary collection.
But one series that has been active in every part of Atari's history is a little-known game called Yars' Revenge.
Scientists are still trying to figure out why I give a shit. I don't know why, I've always just been interested in Yars' Revenge. Ever since I learned what it is, I'm like, that's the thing that I want to care about right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look back at Yars' Revenge as a series. The old, the mid, and the now.
So Yars' Revenge was a game for the Atari 2600, released back in the year 1982. The year famous for being the year that E.T. released. Oh no. There was a prequel comic that was released that explains the plot of the game, since you couldn't really cram that into a cartridge. You play as a member of the Yar race, which came to be after a spaceship carrying Jeff Goldblum and a common housefly fucking crash. They strove to live a peaceful life, until the Kotile, those rat bastards, blew up one of their planets. Now they want to get revenge. So you could even say it's a Yars' Revenge. This game is actually the best-selling original Atari game on the 2600. That's kinda neat, I guess. Something interesting that I found was this article with an interview with Howard Warshaw, the creator of Yars' Revenge. He talks a bit about the game and others he's worked on, like the cancelled sequel, Yarian Olympics, which would see Yar leveling up skills. I imagine like Duck Life. It was in development, but he got pulled to work on other games, like E.T. Oh no. But one thing I found interesting was that during playtesting, it was found to be popular with women.
And this was in the 1980s, okay? Women can't like video games, they're boy toys.
Most ads just default to having both a young boy and girl playing the game. A diversity win! And this one supposedly has Seth Green, but I'm not entirely sure. This one in particular stands out.
Hello, Yar. You'll need some protection. Ion zone. Okay. Now you'll need some weapons. You have a formidable enemy, the Kotile. Watch it, Yar. He has a lethal drone and some other tricks up his sleeve. Oh, good move, Yar. Now, I have a surprise for you. A Zorlon cannon. Use it, Yar. Fire again. Got him. That's revenge. Yars' Revenge.
And it might not seem like much now, but this was 3D graphics in 1982.
Damn, surely this game will live up to these insane expectations. It exceeded them.
It's actually pretty fun. It's a nice little addictive arcade shooter. You shoot the shield, avoid projectiles, then repeatedly slam your head into the enemy and fire your laser and get epilepsy. I have no idea what this thing does. A shield, maybe? But the projectiles can still go through it? I don't know.
This is incredible! I wonder where the series will go next! Oh.
Atari kept floundering for the next 14 years. They were bought by Hasbro Interactive, then they were bought by Infogrames, then Infogrames changed their name to Atari. They were relegated to working on licensed games. That's why their name is on Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. There was later a Game Boy Color port of Yars' Revenge, and it's not that good. The screen crunch is way too much, and Yar moves way too fast. It's worse than the original in my opinion. But during this time, they were also working on modernized versions of their games for Xbox Live Arcade, and one of those happens to be Yars' Revenge.
In this reimagining of the original Atari 2600 title, we've taken the spirit of the original game and reimagined it in a rich world that only the technology of modern game development can fully realize.
We turned Yar into a girl. I've got to say, a lot of emotion and intrigue in the story gets removed when your main character has this face. This is an on-rails shooter, and a bland one at that. It's essentially just clicking and holding, though there is a multiplier for points, so it does incentivize killing the enemies. You can lock onto enemies and bomb them, then there's pickups like one that locks onto enemies and shoots them, one that increases damage, and the shield, which also heals you. But using the shield would likely mean you lose the multiplier, so you really have to strategize in this on-rails shooter.
I made that sound like a joke, but I genuinely did strategize throughout playing the game. Minimal amounts of strategizing, but strategizing nonetheless. On the brain dead scale, I'd put it above a single-celled organism. It's like strategizing in an on-rail shooter. It's just when you choose to shoot the big rockets instead of the small ones, okay? It's not that much strategy.
But we have to shoot at enemies. And they are so forgettable that I didn't even realize they changed partway through the game. What about the bosses?
Damage sponges, the lot of ya!
The worst one has to be Mog-01. It goes through multiple tests, and the worst one is when it drops rocks on you that blend into the background so you can't even see them and then you die. It took me multiple attempts to beat it, compared to the other bosses, which I beat on my first try. I just noticed that on its screen, it's the original code tile from the original game. That's cool. The environments don't have much going for them. There's a jungle setting, an industrial setting, and a darker industrial setting. Ooh. There aren't any set pieces, things that would make these courses, you know, stand out. But I will say that they're nice. I don't know how to phrase it because I don't think the environments are well designed, but they nail their respective aesthetics. This game has a story with cutscenes and shit. It's just still images, but I don't really mind that much because it's at least good art. It definitely could have used voice acting though. There's dialogue in the levels, but without them actually saying the lines, it can get lost in the action. Yar has her own quirky speech pattern where she will say this one a lot, and it's so cool that I don't care. We play as Yar as she kills people without remorse until she gets damaged in battle. She is rescued by the Bar Yargler, and it's revealed that the people she was working for were actually evil, and they massacred her race and brainwashed her. Now, she has to get her Yars' revenge.
The twist happens 30 minutes in. The game is 2 hours long.
I don't care for the Bar Yargler. His name is really fun, but he just starts bitching at us and I just stopped caring about him.
I think that if the game was longer and they had a better chance at fleshing out the story, it would have been better. The issue is that the game would have been longer.
There was also a game called Yars' Revenge First War that looked like more of a classic interpretation of Yars' Revenge. However, this was a Facebook game, and now I can't play it. But moving on to present-day Atari, they have been doing a better job with their properties, releasing collections of their games onto modern platforms, one being a museum of sorts of Atari as a whole, and creating new experiences inspired by the old, like QWOP. They've made a lot in the Recharge series, which takes the spirit of the original games and enhances them both visually and gameplay-wise. And due to Epic Games and Prime Gaming, I now have like half the series for free, and also Yars Recharge twice, so that's fun. Oh, by the way, the game is, it's called Yars Recharge. That's the game that I'm talking about now. I forgot to write that into the script, so I'm saying it now. The game is called Yars Recharge, and this is the modern version of Yars Revenge. This is genuinely really good. It really does feel like a modern version of the original. Instead of being an on-rails shooter like an idiot, it's a bullet hell like a genius. Yeah, fuck you Atari, Atari did it better. It's really fun. You shoot these things and break down the shield, and once you get enough power, you get into the big cannon and shoot the code tile. And you rip and tear until it's done. In the main arcade mode, I presume you go through 60 levels until you reach the final boss, but I kept dying when I got to the purple colored guys. Oh, I guess somebody purple murdered me. But I got really good at the first levels. It's so addictive that I just kept going,
okay, one more round. Surely I'll win this time. Fuck!
You can apply different modifiers to keep the game interesting and give you a higher score, like a faster speed and only being able to bite enemies.
That's the housefly's signature attack. Biting.
There's also missions which give you some unique challenges. Now let's talk about the music, because the music is good. The Recharge series had its music done by Megan McDuff, who also did the music for the River City Girls games. That's cool, nice job. It's good music, it's really good music.
If you want some good arcade action, I recommend Yars Recharged. Genuinely the pinnacle of the franchise. Second place is the original Yars Revenge, and in a distant fourth is Yars Revenge 2011. That's because third place goes to Yars Return, a homebrew version of the original Yars Revenge that became an official sequel in 2005 with the release of the Atari Flashback 2. Well, let's give it a shot, it's bad. There's not enough space for you to dodge the laser, so you have to go to the other side if you want to fire it. That's annoying. If there's one thing that I've learned from this whole ordeal, it's that revenge is not a dish best served cold, but by repeatedly slamming your head against them. Can you not?